From the outside looking in, the Jamisons would have seemed to be a perfectly normal, happy family. Recently married, they had had a child and now 6 years later were planning on buying a plot of land in a more remote location where they could build a house and get away from it all. This description would be truly selective, however, as scratched the surface and the Jamisons were a family suffering from all manner of problems. The mother, Sherilyn, struggled with bipolar disorder. Her husband, Bobby, had had an unfortunate car accident which left him in chronic pain daily, and Madison, their 6-year-old daughter, would apparently speak with spirits which, according to both parents, lived on the property. In 2009, the family disappeared whilst visiting a plot of land they were planning on purchasing in Red Oak, Oklahoma. Their truck left abandoned, they had walked off into the woods, leaving few clues as to how or why. Their bodies were not to be found for another 4 years. This is Dark Histories, where the facts are worse than fiction. Sherilyn and Bobby Jamison met in 2002 and immediately hit it off. They had a relatively short relationship before Sherilyn gave birth to Madison in August 2003. What should have been a period of celebration and joy for the new family turned somewhat sour when in November, Bobby was involved in a traffic accident that saw 2 other vehicles slamming into his own. Bobby survived the accident but suffered injuries that would leave him with severe back pain, plaguing him for the years to come. There were days where he would find it difficult to get out of bed, and this had the knock-on effect of making it increasingly difficult for him to work. Eventually, his only source of income was from the state in the form of welfare benefits. Regardless, the family kept their head up, and 11 months later, in July 2004, Bobby and Sherilyn were married in Hot Springs, Arizona. They lived in a large lakefront home in Eufaula, Oklahoma, which was surrounded by a large garden. Life should have settled down for the Jamisons, but over the following years, a series of difficult events and circumstances led them down a turbulent path. In 2007, Sherilyn's sister passed away due to an unfortunate reaction to a bee sting, and in 2008, Bobby's parents, Bobby Sr. and Star Jamison, divorced, leading to a severe dispute between Bobby and his father. The fallout was not gentle, and after several arguments, physical confrontations, an attempt by Bobby Sr. to run over Bobby Jr., and numerous continued threats, court cases were filed by several family members to gain protective orders from Bobby's father. In a statement put forth during the case, Bobby wrote, "My entire family is scared for their lives. I am in fear at all times." Throughout the court procedures, Bobby also claimed that his father was deeply involved in prostitution, meth, and the Mexican mafia, though there is no real evidence supporting any of this. After a bit of back and forth and a court process, a protective order was initially issued. However, for one reason or another, it was later dismissed after a hearing. During his parents' divorce, Bobby Sr. had also taken it upon himself to write his son out of his will entirely, leaving his estate instead to Bobby Jr.'s daughter, Madison. This led to a further dispute in regards to a gas station that was owned by Bobby Sr. A previous deal had seen Bobby Jr. owed half of the station, but his share was never received. This saw Bobby Jr. filing another legal suit, this time against his father to receive the money he was owed from the deal. This suit was successful, and the profits of $64,000 were split equally between the pair. 2009 was another particularly trying year for the family. Their daughter Madison was hit in the face by a swing at school that knocked out her 2 front teeth. Bobby and Sherilyn reacted, perhaps extremely, by removing Madison from school entirely, and instead they prepared to homeschool her, whilst they also filed a lawsuit against the school. By this time, one might assume that the Jamisons were quite comfortable with the court process. In July, a handyman and family friend named Kenneth Bellows had moved into their home to help out with home maintenance. As Bobby was still suffering from chronic back pain after his accident, that now left him taking pain medication on a daily basis. Just months after, however, in August 2009, upon finding out that Sherilyn had Native American heritage, Bellows' white supremacist leanings were uncovered. Arguments between the two broke out that resulted in Sherilyn firing a .22 caliber pistol into the ground by his feet. Naturally, their relationship broke down permanently. Also in July of 2009, Sherilyn's ex-husband from her first marriage took custody of their son, Colton, and in September, Sherilyn was hospitalized following a failed suicide attempt. Her condition was apparently destabilizing very rapidly, with friends commenting on her weight loss and general emaciated appearance. During the custody hearing, which passed without incident, Colton, being over the age of 12, had a large say in who he would prefer to live with, and he gave a statement about his mother, claiming that she had seemed very depressed and that she often acted strangely. This was all no doubt a culmination of the roller coaster of previous events, combined with Sherilyn's documented trouble with bipolar and severe depression. However, even outside of this, it is also true that both her and her husband Bobby had been acting very strangely indeed. The Jamisons were a fairly religious family, and Bobby had reportedly visited his pastor, Gary Brandon, to inquire on whether it was possible to buy bullets which could be used in spiritual warfare. This strange request was explained by Bobby when he admitted that he needed to fight spirits that he routinely saw on the roof of their house, one of which bore wings. This was a notion backed up by Sherilyn, who claimed that there were 3 to 4 spirits in their home, making up a family who were apparently named Michael and Emily, and their daughter who spoke to Madison. The pair obviously found the spirits to be an unsettling presence in the household, and Bobby had even gone so far as to have bought a satanic Bible that he misguidedly planned to use to exorcise the spirits. Reports have varied on whether or not they thought the spirits themselves to be malicious, but Sherilyn began leaving small notes around the house with scribblings on such as, "Get out, Satan." Sherilyn had also begun to bandy the idea around that she was practicing witchcraft, though her close friends said she never took it seriously and it was rather a tongue-in-cheek exercise which she used to keep people she didn't want in her life at arm's length. If this is true, however, she took this to fairly extreme lengths as she spray-painted religious slogans and confusing phrases on various items in their yard, including a beaten-up old car and a large storage container with musings such as "Only God," "Gossip is sin," and the most out there, 3 cats killed to date by people in this area. Witches don't like their black cats killed. The reference to cats was apparently concerning the death of the family's cats, which she believes to have been poisoned by someone in the neighbourhood. The pair had apparently slipped into a state of some paranoia, and through all of this, Bobby and Sherilyn's marriage invariably suffered. By how much and for which reason is not known exactly. It could have been a combination of everything or one particular aspect, but the couple were noticeably struggling. Later on, after the discovery of Sherilyn's journal, police would find entries that clearly showed Sherilyn as unhappy with her marital situation, and close friends of the couple mentioned that they had been having a hard time for many years. However, contrary to this, relatives later made statements that despite all of their arguments, the couple were very much in love. Either way, the marriage was certainly not idyllic. It was in this difficult marital climate that the family packed their truck to leave Eufaula and visit a 40-acre plot of land that they planned to buy in Red Oak, a somewhat mountainous and wooded area set in the wilderness 30 miles south of the family home. After the years of earlier chaos, it appeared as though the Jamisons were seeking a quieter life, off the grid and away from the trappings of the past. They planned to purchase the land and move into a storage container that Sherilyn had previously graffitied, whilst they could convert it into a new home, maintaining the Eufaula home as a rental. On October the 7th of 2009, they visited the area for the first time. Witnesses tell the family seemed to be in good spirits, and the following day they once again set out to the remote area. This time, however, they would not return. On October the 8th, 2009, the couple packed their large pickup truck and along with their daughter and Maisie, the family dog, headed towards Red Oak to again visit and inquire about the land they were looking to purchase. In CCTV footage filmed from a security camera purchased during the dispute with Bobby's father, the Jamisons are shown busily and wordlessly walking to and fro from the house, loading boxes of their possessions into the truck. Soon they were back on the road to Red Oak. After the 30-mile drive to the base of the Santa Bowie Mountains, where the land was located, Bobby and Sherilyn visited an associate of the landowner, and when the meeting was done, through later piecing together of evidence like pieces of a puzzle, we know that the family parked up and went for a short walk for around 15 minutes. They made sure to take their GPS unit and found a quiet spot on a hillside. After they returned to their vehicle, they drove a little further and then, with the truck left locked in the middle of the dirt track, they were simply gone. During their initial absence, none of their friends and family felt any cause for concern. Bobby and Sherilyn were known to fall off the radar from time to time, and Madison had already been pulled out of school. So it was that the Jamison family quietly disappeared, never to be seen alive again. On Saturday, October the 17th, 2009, hunters on dirt bikes ran across the Jamisons' abandoned truck and called police to report the vehicle. Initially, the police assumed the vehicle to have been stolen, as the report suggested the truck to have only been on the roadside for a few hours. Though later that day, the same hunter called back to confirm to police that he had seen it there, abandoned for a number of days. The Latimer County Sheriff Israel Beauchamp, Under-Sheriff Matt Bond, and several other officers headed out to the truck, which they found locked and parked across the dirt track. When they discovered the Jamisons' dog Maisie was alive and inside the vehicle, they smashed the window, releasing her, and found that by now she had almost starved to death. As they began taking inventory, they found that the Jamisons had left behind all of their coats and warm clothing. Bobby had left his wallet and Sherilyn her purse. They had also left behind their phone and their GPS unit, which one might assume to be of critical importance when spending time in an unfamiliar wilderness area. Curiously, they also found, among several piles of garbage that was littered throughout the truck, an 11-page document written by Sherilyn that amounted to a hate letter expressing all of her grievances and hatred for Bobby, and in a brown bank bag, stuffed below the passenger seat, $32,000 in cash. During their initial investigations, no sign of a struggle were found. There was no blood, no broken glass, and no signs of scuffle on the soft ground around the truck. A search was organised, and over the coming days and weeks would eventually consist of over 400 volunteers, horses, mules, ATVs, 16 teams of cadaver dogs, and an unmanned drone, though volunteers were asked not to attend at first due to the remote location. "We don't want a search party for 3 missing people to turn into a search for others," said Sergeant Chuck Wells in a press conference. During the searches, the cadaver dog teams repeatedly found suspicion with the nearby water tower. It was promptly drained, though no evidence concerning the Jamisons could be found. Meanwhile, McIntosh County Sheriff Joe Hogan had his deputies search the Jamisons' family home in Eufaula, where they discovered several key facts. Their first important discovery was that of the security footage of the Jamisons packing the vehicle, which allowed them to cross-check the inventory of the truck. Upon doing so, they found that a large brown briefcase or satchel had been loaded into the truck, but now could not be found anywhere back in Red Oak or inside the truck. They also took note of a missing .22 caliber pistol belonging to Sherilyn that could not be found in their home and was confirmed by friends and family to be carried in the truck. However, it also could not be found in Red Oak. When police checked the phone records of the mobile phone found in the truck, they found that curiously it had made an outgoing call to voicemail on the 12th, though it would have been locked inside the abandoned truck at the time. They also found a photo of Madison taken upon the hill, and through a combination of following the GPS unit and using the photo as reference, found it to be just 200 yards away from the abandoned truck. The case was becoming increasingly webbed, and Beauchamp told reporters in a press conference that a lot of investigators would love to have as many leads as we do. The problem is, they point in so many different directions. Eventually, with the hunting season on the horizon and searches becoming less fruitful and more dangerous by the day, the search for the Jamisons were abandoned, and information on the case fell silent. Until one day in November, over 4 years later, a grim discovery would reignite the search for the eventual fate of the family who appeared to have parked up their truck and walked off the face of the planet.